Terry Dodd Show with them a lot.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Rage Against the Regime Radio, where status quo is taken to task. With your host, Bobby Who's the Man. Don't be a stranger. Give us a call at 929-477-3565 or contact us at rageagainsttheregimepodcast@gmail.com or on our Twitter at RATR Podcast. And please like our Facebook page. On with the show. Here's Bobby.
Welcome back to another edition of Rage Against the Regime Radio, and I'm your host, Bobby Who's the Man, and always with my trusty sidekick, Becky Williams. Hello, Becky.
Hey.
Welcome aboard. How you
hey,
doing?
Brother. I'm doing today. I'm doing today. It's been a very trying couple of days.
I hear you.
How's the weather out there in the Windy City?
Well, you know what? Today it was a beautiful day out. Today it was like in the high 70s this morning. When I woke up, I get up for work at 3:30 in the morning, so I get out of bed, and I'm getting dressed and everything. I'm getting ready, and I put on a sweatshirt and I wear a Carhartt jacket to work usually when it's cold out, and all of a sudden I walk outside and I'm like, whoa. So I take off the Carhartt jacket, put that back in the house, take the sweatshirt off right away, put it in the car with me. I'm looking at, my phone to see what the weather is. It's like 75 at like 4-something in the morning. So I'm like, okay, today's going to be a good day. So here we are, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock Central Time, and the weather has dropped. It went from 70-some-odd degrees this afternoon, and right now, I would say it might be 50 degrees. So it only dropped to 28-some-odd degrees, something like that. No big deal.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, it's beautiful and sunny here. I'm pushing about 85 to 90 today. It's lovely. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Hey, any
You're
word
bragging.
Any word out of the Lone?
You're bragging and boasting. That's all you're doing.
You caught me. I did it. Everything's better.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. They said bigger, right? I'm sorry.
Right.
Listen,
so
any word out of what, brother?
No, I was going to say today we're going to have on a special guest. I'm to my understanding, as long as we can get him on, I know that he's on the campaign trail and he's a busy man and everything. But why don't you give us a little breakdown on who our guest is going to be today?
We've got brother hopeful candidate for Secretary of State of Missouri, Roi Chinn. Roi Chinn, I reached out to him when I started my campaign for his candidate to run for the state of Texas, governor to succeed. I reached out to Brother Chinn as an economic advisor. This is one brilliant individual. He is currently on the trail, like you said, so we may or may not have him as a captive speaker for very long today, but I definitely would like to address a couple of issues with him. He also was city manager for Troy, Michigan, many years ago, for about 7 years, and I understand that he ran for mayor. He's also a conservative gentleman. He's a Christian, and he is a patriot to the core. I know this man a little bit more personally than most people on Facebook, obviously. But he is a superior individual. He has an unbelievable amount of knowledge on what's going on in the state of Missouri. And the reason that I asked him to be our guest today actually stems from my concern with the ruling on the Brown case where the police officer has been found not guilty. We all know what happened after the shooting of the young thug, Mr. Brown, the rioting that took place and the threats that were made on the officer's life and his family. So I just wanted to kind of touch base with him and see what type of preparedness, because I believe that announcement, the not guilty announcement, is due this week. So we look forward to talking to Brother Chinn. Are you there? Oh, wow. Looks like we've lost me. Can you hear me, Bobby? Boy, I tell you, if y'all can hear me, I wish we could have just one show where the government would leave my communication alone. I'm going to call back in if you can hear me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the weirdest thing ever happened to me ever in my life. Wow. I have no idea what in the hell just happened, but, wow. I got completely knocked out there. That's weird. Becky was talking, and I was listening to Becky, and all of a sudden, I got completely knocked out, and hopefully Becky calls back in a minute, because that was completely weird. So, I don't know how that happened, but welcome back, Becky. I have no idea what happened. I mean, I set the phone down for a second, and I was doing paperwork, and I picked it back up and started listening, and I didn't hear anything. And that's when you texted me.
Well, I tell you, the government never ceases to fail in its effort to quiet me. It's very disturbing.
So what exactly just happened so I know what I'm looking for here?
Well, I was speaking and went completely dead. When I called back, it was completely dead. When I called your phone, it went straight to voicemail. And that's when I texted you. Yeah, it just went dead. Like I was speaking, I broke. There's so much interference right now.
There's so much what?
When I speak, it sounds like a train is going through the air. Every time I say
okay, we're going to, you know what? I'll mute myself. That's probably on my end. So,
well,
but
see.
You know what? All right. Were you actually covering Casey Massey and stuff like that yet? Did we get to that point?
I was thinking about Brother Roi Chinn. Did you hear any?
Okay.
Did you hear any of it?
You know what? I heard about in Michigan and stuff like that, but I actually had to set the. Yeah.
Good. Then I guess we covered Brother Chinn, who will be on in a bit. He is a hopeful candidate out of the state of Missouri for Secretary of State. I'm hoping that we have some listeners out there. If they have any questions, want to call in, that they'll certainly do so.
Right. Okay, so Casey Massey. Let's talk about Casey and talk about what's been going on with with all the Patriots and stuff like that. And you go ahead and cover that, and I'll mute this.
Okay. With Brother Casey Massey out of Camp Lone Star, we covered a little bit about what happened to him. I'll recap it. Brother Massey was picked up, I believe it was last Monday or Tuesday, by the ATF in Brownsville, Texas, and he was charged with felon in possession of arms. It's my understanding that Brother Massey has received order from the court to remove all contact with any Patriot groups, his social media page. He can no longer have his radio show. His bond was set at $30,000 initially, I do believe. I'm not sure if there's been a reduction in that or not. Last time I spoke with Archie would have been Friday. At that time, Archie down at the camp explained to me that he was sending everyone home but himself, and so we have some question as to whether Camp Lone Star is, in fact, even a camp any longer, and I was unable to reach Archie by phone today. to answer that question. I was hoping we could get him to call in. So anybody out there that has any information on where we are with Camp Lone Star on the border in defense of the foreign invasion, we'd definitely be curious to hear from you.
Well, let's give everybody the phone number. 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. I'm sure there's a ton of you out there that have questions for Mr. Chinn, with him being, in the state of Missouri and everything going on in Ferguson. And, that right now is probably one of the biggest places that martial law is being implemented. So a lot of questions should be raised to Mr. Chinn to find out what he feels and what he may know about what's going on in the state of Missouri. So I highly recommend anybody listening, anybody that has any questions about it, call in and ask Mr. Chinn any questions that you may have.
I have a couple of things that I'd like to address.
Go right ahead.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry, I was sending a message to Dr. Garrow. I would certainly like to address a couple of issues. I posted up a video that our brother Blaine Cooper had done. It was a brief video, but he really nailed something for us in the message that was sent in that this week. And that is this: the Patriots, the bickering, backstabbing, slanderous, childlike behavior amongst the Patriots needs to stop. And that was his message. Leaders like myself and Bobby and some of the others, it's inevitable that we're going to be attacked, our reputations questioned because of a few jealous patriots or trolls or operatives. And believe me, the operatives are out there. It's not a conspiracy theory. There are federal operatives among us that are there specifically to divide. In order to conquer us or thwart our efforts to organize to save this country, they have to infiltrate us and they have to cause discord. Be mindful. If you have a question of character of anyone and you want those questions answered, please feel free to do it in a logical and peaceful fashion. Go into an instant or a private message and speak to them. If you're not satisfied with that, invite them to an open forum where other patriots can participate and give validity to the person's identity or, their MO in the patriot movement. Bobby, can you add to any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just muted myself because I wanted you to get your message out loud and clear. That's all.
Okay. Can you add anything to that? And then I'm going to tell you what's going on with you personally.
Yeah, absolutely. There's tons of Patriot pages right now that there's definitely activity going on where there's people that are playing both sides. Okay, they're operatives that are paid by the government that, is their pay very high? Probably not. It's people, most of them don't even work for the government. What they are is they're just people that bring up false identities. They create false identities and they go online and act as if they're a patriot, go on pages, stuff like that, and, they will question patriots and, question different things and raise negativity and create bad vibes beyond the patriot family. And that's how it all began, and usually how it ends is, usually somebody either finds out who they are, A, or B, patriots are at ends with each other, and don't even realize that, they just got played by an operative. I mean, that's as easy and simple as you can put it.
Yeah, you're correct. And so I'm going to take it back to what your mom
You're breaking up really bad there,
yeah,
Becky. You're breaking up.
I'm getting a lot of static here.
Sure. You know what? Let me mute again. Let me mute again and see if it helps.
All right, there you go. I'm going to say this because I love each and every one of you. Even though I've never met you, the fight I bring to the table is definitely for all of us. It's not a selfish battle that I fight. It's a selfless battle that I fight. Even for my enemy, I have compassion to a degree. And this is why I'm out here in the front and why I threw my hat into the arena to run for governor of Texas. And being shut down broke my heart by opposition from the government. Apparently I'm a threat, and that's a good thing. Bad thing for me, but a good thing for you guys, because that means that I've got them on alert, the government that is, and they don't want me to continue to battle in my fight to secede Texas. And anybody that's been listening over the months understands what I'm talking about. But there's one in particular incident, the reason that I brought a question here, or brought light to the situation here is this. Even in our own movement, the POP movement for Camp Lone Star, I had some individuals, not one, but several, give me screenshots and copies of a conversation concerning me amongst Debbie Harrington, Dinah Dwayne, who, by the way, has several profiles. She's most likely an operative, and she is the one who started all this bullshit where I'm concerned. That was very negative, calling me a psyop and a fed, and I was never a valid candidate to run for the governor of Texas, and I mean, she went on and on and on. I'm nothing more than fanciful, I believe it was, mouth trash. And, it's heartbreaking to see that women who have been in leadership like Miss Harrington and some of the others participate in slanderous behavior of an individual who started a thread of slander to cause discord or question my, I can assure any listener out there, I'm actually not federal. It's not a PSYOPs program, as Miss Dinah had stated. But I went in and I had a bit of a conversation with Sharon on POP and explained to her that, I have thick skin. Their lies are of no concern to me. But the damage that is done by allowing and making those decisions to allow others on your page or your group to slander patriots without cause or provocation is really a bad decision on the leadership of those group pages. Your responsibility is to make sure that you use your best judgment and discernment to stop it when it starts. And if those people continue to persist with their instigation of discord or defamation of character where it's not warranted, you need to be mindful that patriots are looking to you to be leaders. And you've taken the baton to do so, and your best interest is to have good judgment in those that you entertain in your arena. And this is part of the problem and one of the biggest reasons why we have not come together as a family and group to effectively dismantle the real issues and problems, which is government and the imminent danger that we've been placed in by our government. And so with that said, Bobby, would you like to add anything to that? Bobby, did I lose you?
Yeah, no, I'm here. The button just takes a second when you're coming off the pause.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I do want to add something to that. You know, we're all foolish to the game, okay? And this is what I mean by that. We're all happy because Patriots, there's not very many of us, okay? There are many of us, but a lot of Patriots aren't active and aren't in the community like we are, and, you know, so on and so forth. So what I mean by that is, you know, the number of us that are out there, we enjoy being able to correspond with other Patriots on Patriots pages and, you know, interact with each other and stuff like that. So, you know, you could actually become part of somebody's page and, you know, be a Patriot with another Patriot, so on and so forth, and talk to other people. You don't know who you're talking to 9 times out of 10. I mean, you have no idea who half these people are. So you go off of a word alone, hey, you know, these people on here are Patriots, whatever, you know, in some groups. I'm part of one group right now and I'm not going to name the group because I don't want the people in the group being offended right now because I do have listeners from that group. But there's a group that I'm in, and I know that there's 1 or 2 operatives that I can guarantee are, okay? They've been questioned by more than one person, and I've seen too much negative stuff being posted by these people that question all of us and make us question each other, and they're doing the reverse of psychology, you know, bit on us, and you know, you got to be real careful, okay? You know, it's nice to try to keep up with each other and interact, and you know, and be on each other's pages, and you know, be on Patriot pages and stuff like that. But see, a lot of these are open groups, or they're the type of groups that, you know, they're trying to get numbers and they want more people to become part of the page and so on and so forth. So, you know, the moderators just add people and don't even do any kind of background check or anything on the person. And it's very easy if you're working for the other side, okay? It's very easy for them to set up an identity for you that says that you're, you know, you're the king of Patriots. You know what I mean? So
yes.
It's really hard to be able to siphon through it and figure out who's who and what's what. But you know what? You just got to be really careful what you do and what you say and everything. And you know, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. You know, there's so many people that I think that they mean good, you know, and I think that they really mean very well, but in the end, it's not good, okay? And it's not on purpose, okay? It's not something that happens on purpose. The way that it happens is, you know, they're kind of blind to the situation. I mean, they take anything. What I mean by that is they take anything and post it out there and make it seem like, you know, okay, they're not the kind of person that does their homework to investigate. Like before you or I may post something, we might look into it a little bit more and go, you know what? I don't know if I really want to talk about that on the show because I don't really know what I know about what's being posted. Some of these people will actually take it and run and spread it everywhere. And then you got the naysayers, and then you got the people that believe anything. They'll believe whatever the hell you post. You know what I mean? And it becomes one of those issues where it creates havoc. So you just got to be able to, you got to be able to, I guess, siphon through the bullshit and figure out, what's what. So, if that makes any sense.
Listen, it does, and we're not in junior high, and this is not a situation where we can play childhood antics on one another. We are not afforded time, unfortunately, has slipped past us, and we're running out of time to find a collective resolution to this issue, or to organize and brace ourselves for the imminency that faces us with a situation like martial law and the things that the government have planned for us. Anybody that's done their homework or followed folks like myself and Bobby understand completely this one thing. We have researched information to establish validity and to give an awakening and a warning of what's coming and what's happening currently. And for those of you who have your thinking caps on, we ask you don't take our word for it. The best source of discernment is going to be your own. But if I tell you something is dangerous, and I tell you these events are the ones that you need to be concerned about, that is your cue as a responsible individual for your family, for yourself, to investigate and research and cross-reference until you understand that in fact is truth, and now you play an intricate role in how to stop the madness. That's your responsibility. We can't do it all. You have to do it yourself. So when you find people who have multiple profiles, then that's probably a big red flag. They're hiding something, or they're being deceptive in some manner. If you find folks out there that are trying to discredit someone else, and that person is giving you no reason to, don't listen to those idiots. If you have a question of the character of the person that they're trying to use peace about, then engage that person in private conversation so you have satisfaction to your question. But don't let a few people destroy what we are working so desperately hard to put together.
Exactly. You know what? It's a discredit to yourself not to actually do the homework and look into it. It really is. It's a discredit to yourself. Okay? And, I mean, you shouldn't be taking anybody's word for anything. If somebody, like Becky just said, if somebody tells you something about something, you should be able to just go, okay, you know what? Let me look into that, and I'll find out if it's true or not, and then I'll take it from there. But I don't believe everything that you read, everything that you hear, everything that you see, because plenty of people post bull crap out there that they want you to believe what they posted. They want you to believe the bull crap because they want you to spread that information and share it on with others. It's that simple.
I've been so transparent, Bobby, and I've been so vocal on so many venues about what has happened to my attempt to secede Texas. I haven't hidden a thing. I haven't hidden a thing about who I am, how I feel. You see my post. You listen to me. You're my host on the radio. I have had nothing but transparency where I'm concerned. And to have a group of patriots jump on a bandwagon with somebody who's obviously shit stirrer is pretty disheartening. But I have thick skin, and my reputation precedes me. So I'm not worried or concerned about it. What I am concerned about, because it's not damaging me, it's actually damaging the movement. You understand what I'm saying? Their lives are of no concern to me because, it's only damaging the minds and corrupting and dividing patriots who are too foolish to be anything but, bandwagon jumpers, if you will. And shame on them for not being mature enough to understand that that's such a childhood tactic. But at the same time, it is a tactic that is used in the handbook. The FBI published it. If you don't believe me, go look it up. Is actually used to disrupt a patriot or militia movement. Look it up. That's what they do. They slander, false statements of character, continued agitation, and they know that there are a lot of people out there that lack intelligence or discernment and will jump on that bandwagon and spread it like an infantigo within a group, Look it up. Don't believe me, just go look it up. I'm going to give Brother Chinn a phone call. Bobby, why don't you take...
okay, yeah. I was just going to say, he's probably kind of busy and probably maybe lost track of time or whatever, but go ahead. And I will...
I gave him a 4:45 time frame. So
okay, so we're right around that time right now. It's not a big deal. I mean, that's just a couple of minutes after that. So we're okay. I mean, we had a lot of stuff that we wanted to talk about anyway. So I mean, we didn't even decide to even try to talk about it, but we could do that. We could actually. Well, I don't know if you want to try to go ahead and give him a call or a message or whatever.
I'm going to, it's 3:38, so we've got about 6 minutes. I'll give him a call in about 4.
Okay.
I was on a very interesting phone call. It was a conference call. I get all kinds of invitations to join movements or speaking events, things of that nature, and frequently I get invitations to conference calls, and I was on one on Sunday that was outstanding, Bobby. There are some folks on there that were very knowledgeable, and I'd really like to have them come on at some time in the near future, a couple of those hosts, and speak to us. I don't know, do you know a K.T. Hamlet or a Mr. Rack, R-A-H-A?
No.
It was actually about against the bank, and it was so informative. I'd really like to do a show about what's going on at some point and invite maybe Carol Ray and Joanne Moretti, folks like Becky and some of the others that were involved in the call on Sunday to talk about what's going on currently with the IMF and NERSA and the BRICS organization, what's going on with the banking and the new currency they're expected to implement. I just wanted to ask you that question. I asked you that earlier.
Well, you know what? I mean, we're here to cover pretty much anything and everything that pertains to, anything that's going on with our governments, anything going on with our government, anything that's going on that, interferes with the Constitution, our amendments, our rights in general, so on and so forth. I mean, and patriots and Constitution is pretty much what it's, what we're here to cover. But I mean, I always want people to interact. I mean, that's the thing that I always ask for. Okay, here, take for instance, I've always tried to make people try to be part of the show, meaning send me emails, send me text messages. That's why I've got 2 and 3 phone numbers set up for the show. That's why I have email set up for the show. That's why I have, whatever. Just I want people to be interactive any way possible. I mean, without people And without their feedback or anything else, I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to spread the word, you know, and get how they're feeling about situations. Like, take for instance, I mean, you know, a lot of the times we don't bring callers on. Sometimes it's my fault because, say, we're running long or, you know, we're talking about something and I don't actually get to a call right away, whatever. I mean, I want more people to be part of the show. I mean, I post the phone number usually before the show starts, telling people, hey, this is what we're talking about today. If you want to jump in and call us or text me or email me a question that I can actually ask whoever the guest is going to be for the day, or even if it's just us covering it, I still want people to interact. I want people to be part of it.
We need their participation because they are
absolutely
that are going to be able to get out there and collectively spread this word in a much broader audience than we even can reach. And so we look to you guys to become leaders. Don't just look at us as the people responsible to lead, but become your own leader.
Right. Well, you know, here, and I'll just tell you guys right now, this is a wish list that I'm working on right now. Okay, I've been working on it for a while now. People that I want to bring on as guests. Okay, Tosh Plumley. I've talked to him a few times. We went back and forth. Tosh never told me no. He didn't tell me yes, but he said that he's still talking. He said once he gets the gag order, he can't talk anymore. I want to get Tosh Plumley on. Dave Hodges, I would love to get on. Okay, I've been working on trying to get Dave on for, I can't even tell you how long, but I don't know what's going on with him. There's something going on that he won't even friend me on Facebook. So I'm kind of worried about that negative patriot stuff that we were just talking about. I have a feeling that like some of that might have been going on there. What else? You know, it just goes on and on. But I mean, I've got a nice little list going of people, you know, that I want to bring on the show eventually, have them on as guests, and you know, I think that we could actually have a really good show. But you know what? Go ahead and talk about what you were going to talk about, because I actually have to go inside here for 1 second, and then I will be right back out. So if you could.
Oh,
is that okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, I'll be right back in about 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
All right, brother, we'll do so. One of the things that I wanted to touch base with you folks about, give you a little bit of food for thought, is some of the antics that have been used. I know there's a lot of you by our government. I know there's a lot of you out there that have questions, as I have. Why has our military not stepped up? Why is it that we constantly hear from our oath keepers, I'll uphold the oath that I've taken to protect against foreign and domestic enemies, yet it seems as though it's just lip service because they're still sitting up there in Washington. They're still committing acts of treason, and when I say they, I mean all of them are guilty. The chain of command is not excused for removal simply because one party, that being the House, claims that the Senate has to be the one to remove the tyrant, dictator, and self-proclaimed king, Obama. And God put a message in my heart, I believe, because the word subordinate came to mind. And I just want to read to you quickly what the word subordinate actually means. When you're written up on an article in the military, quite frequently you hear the term insubordination as cause or an infraction in the military. Now, I want you to listen to this very carefully, because how do you control a killing machine, which is what they turn our children into, our men and women that join the military? They're being groomed to be the executioner of war, if you will. Subordinate. It is Middle English. Subordinate comes from in medieval Latin. Okay, medieval. I really have a problem with that terminology to begin with. Medieval. That's very disturbing to me in its dictation as it stands. But anyway, from medieval Latin, subordinate, subordinatus, past participle of subordinator, to subordinate, placed in or occupy a lower class rank or position of inferiority. A subordinate officer, submissive to or controlled by authority of relating to or constituting a clause that functions as a noun, adjective, or adverb, subordinating. Now, if you heard me correctly, its description is a human being to be placed in or occupy a lower class rank or position, an inferior position to a subordinate officer. Now, Obama is the commander-in-chief over the military. My God, who in the hell would put a community organizing, pot-smoking, cocaine-snorting, orgy animal, Mo operative, Muslim hater of America pig in that position to basically the most powerful position in the world, but a bunch of ignorant people who actually think that their votes meant anything, used to divide the country by claiming his heritage as black. We all know he's Middle Eastern. The Kenyan thing is nothing more than the same smoking mirror or confusion propaganda that was put in place by the government so we won't know where he comes from. And he's used 4 different Social Security numbers. I could go on all day. The fact is he was never eligible for his position, but the military bow to him. They are his subordinates, okay? So why would they step up to remove him? The fear has been instilled in them from basic boot camp, and I said it, the fear, by way of brainwashing. So subordinate is a very important word. Now, with that said, I just used the word fear. Now let's go to its description. Fear. Okay, here we go. Fear. A scared child shows fear in an uncertain environment. Fear is actually an emotion induced by a threat perceived by living entities, which causes a change in brain and organ function and ultimately a change in behavior such as running away, hiding, or freezing from traumatic events. Fear may occur in response to specific stimulus happening in the present or to a future situation, which is perceived as a risk to health or life, status, power, security, or in the case of human wealth or anything held in value. The fear response arises from the perception of danger, leading to a confrontation with or escape from or avoid that threat as a fight-to-flight response. In extreme cases of fear, horror and terror can be a freeze response or paralysis. And humans and animals feel fear is modulated by process of cognition and learning. Okay, I need you to understand what I'm telling you. I've just explained to you what the subordinate intent is in ranking in military. Even in the human, in the secular world, we are classified as lower class, middle class, and upper class. It is a classification. Now, with that said, we become complacent in being brainwashed to those two things. Now, I'm going to tell you about complacency. Complacency is a self-satisfaction, especially when accompanied by unawareness of actual danger of deficiency and instance of useless mental error of self-satisfaction. People, this is what they use to control a population. Subordination is what they have used to control the very people that they train up to be war machines. This is why they haven't removed him. This is why they have been taken over. And this is why we have allowed it. Overcome your fear. Set your fear aside because it is the death of you. Overcome your complacency because your complacency will drive you into starvation and complete enslavement and submission, and you'll find yourself in a camp waiting on your death sentence just like the Jews did. And for all my oath keepers out there, I need you to take a hard, long look at the brainwashing that started in your boot camp, your basic training to become subordinate to authority. And then I want you to come back and tell me that you are going to uphold your oath, and then I want to see you do it, not say it. I'm going to try to call Brother Bob. Yes?
A lot of people don't want to admit, okay? They don't want to admit to themselves. You know, a lot of people, believe it or not, feel that change is coming no matter what. Okay? So no matter how much you sit there and tell you're red in the face and try to explain to people that, you know, it's going to get worse. Okay? It's not getting better. No time soon will it be getting better. Okay? As a matter of fact, if you look at the numbers and follow the numbers and keep track of the numbers, we are getting worse and worse and worse, like every month. Okay? And here, take for instance, I called this. I don't know if you remember this, and I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to see if you remember. Okay? That whole Ebola crap. When's the last time you really, really, really heard about Ebola in the last couple weeks? About a week ago? Something?
Yeah, no, it was over the weekend about some nurse that was brought in, and now she's going to sue the government.
Right.
Because she's in quarantine in Jersey.
Right. Okay, and she has been cured. Okay? She's been cured magically for this virus that they don't have the cure for, supposedly. Bullshit. Okay? But I'm not going to get into all that. What I'm going to get into is what I said was going to happen. Okay? Ebola is going to fall off the map. Okay? What it was, okay, they were talking about Ebola and striking fear and giving everybody something to talk about because there was a bigger agenda at that time that they were trying to hide from you. Okay? That's what it's all about. So now you're not hearing about Ebola anymore. Okay? And you might hear about something little here and there and everything else. They know that that's not going to get out of control like they think it's, you know, like they wanted you to believe and wanted you to start telling your friends and spreading rumors, and everybody's talking about it because everybody's so scared of Ebola. Here comes Ebola. Everybody, it's coming to get us and this and that. No, not so fast. Okay, you know, yes, there is a disease, okay, but it's not it's not getting out of control, and it's not going to be a pandemic like they wanted you to think, okay? They wanted everybody to run and get their little vaccines and everything, and I think what's happening right now is people are awake to it, and they're squashing it, okay? And they're finding out that they don't need these vaccines and everything. Because a lot of people were talking about they were ready to get in line to go get a vaccine for something that they didn't need no vaccine for. Just like flu shots. Anybody that gets a flu shot, you're goofy. Okay? You do not need shot to help keep away from the flu and you not get the flu and everything else. Okay? It's a proven fact.
Bobby, we got Brother Chinn on the line. Say hello to Mr. Chinn.
Hello, Brother Chinn. How are you, sir?
Hello. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Very well. Thank you. And welcome aboard to Race Against the Regime.
Okay. Yes. It's a pleasure. Becky, and by the way, first of all, let me tell you, congratulations for a very successful campaign that you ran. I want to tell you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and I thank you very much for stepping up and offering to be an economical advisor in my committee when you were so busy with your own battle. You're an amazing man, and I owe you, brother. I can never repay that debt.
Well, we only have each other right now. You know, things are bad. The founding fathers are, flipping in their grave right now with what's going on. You know, the courts have usurped the powers of the state and the people, thereby usurping the Constitution, and it was supposed to keep the federal government and all their minions in check. So our country's running amok, and all we have are each other. The Patriots really need to stick together. That's all we have right now is each other.
Yes, sir. I agree. How is your run coming, brother? Tell me about what's going on.
Well, right now, I want to thank you for again inviting me on, and here's why. It takes a person of integrity and courage to identify and take on the elephant in the room. And right now, the elephant in the room across America is Ferguson. That's the elephant in the room. The media won't cover it. They won't tell us what really needs to happen. And I've got some really good news to let everyone know. I've been, I was one of the people who was invited, the only conservative invited to lead the march in Ferguson in August. And I led the march with Dr. Spence Booker. And what I'm finding out is that there's some undercurrents going on right now across the country, and the Democrats are in a lot of trouble. They're in a great deal of coming 2016. I see there's some undercurrents they're not picking up on, and I think they're going to find out a little bit later that the plantation workers are rejecting welfare. They're rejecting unemployment. They're rejecting the food stamps and the housing because it's not working in the 21st century. These things that were given as gifts and entitlements today simply have very little economic benefit. When I'm talking to people, I'm seeing that they don't want the welfare checks. They'd rather have a payroll check. They need some solutions, and I just don't see on either side, Republican or Democrat, I'm not seeing those sort of candidates like you, Becky, and there's a lot of other good patriots running across the country who have solutions, 21st century solutions, where people would prefer a paycheck over a welfare check, over housing. People are beginning to understand the federal government is bad, and that we need to keep them out of our business. The Constitution framed it that the federal government is to be mute. It's to be mute when it comes to almost any issue that we have. The Constitution has described that the federal government needs to be mute, and it should be an issue based upon states and the people. And so the courts have run us amok, but the people are beginning to. And when I say the people, I'm referring to Ferguson, and I know that's a part of the show today because that's the canary in the mine. That's the canary in the mine. For the last 8 years, the Democrats have been riding high on everything that's happened. I see across America, people are beginning to engage the system. They're beginning to understand not that it's a Republican way, but it's a constitutional way that we have to keep the federal government in check, and that the federal government is to stay out of all of our business as much as possible. People are embracing this here. And the biggest group of people, the fastest group of people who are embracing this here are non-liberals, people who are not Democrats. Okay, they're embracing it. They're beginning to understand that Agenda 21, Common Core, this homosexuality movement, controlling our kids, controlling the curriculum, trying to control businesses is detrimental. I think people are beginning to see that fundamentally that there's a problem with it. And that's what I saw in Ferguson. Outside of them tearing things up, there is an undercurrent where what's being offered by the Democrat plantation is no longer acceptable in the 21st century. And there's a number of Baptist megachurch ministers right now who support me in the point that come 2016, there's going to be a press release that they will not be, St. Louis will not be a blue city. It's not going to be blue. It'll probably be purple. It's not going to be blue anymore because I'm hoping it's going to be red, but it's not going to be blue.
Praise
it's
God.
It's not working, and I'm telling you right now, it's not working. And sitting back, Becky, and being PC hasn't worked in the black community. It hasn't.
You know,
it just hasn't worked.
The sad thing, brother, is this, and I see it in my own state and in the communities. The degree and the level of demoralization in the urban neighborhoods, okay, by way of the brainwashing of oppression or perceived oppression upon a group of people has been used for centuries to control a population and to keep a division. And this to me is very disheartening because we have lost generations, and I'm not talking about one generation, several generations of our youth to the dumbing down and the influence of people that hold power in positions with groups like the NAACP and the DOJ being involved, the federal government being involved in racial issues that should have never been a racial issue, but rather the anger and energy pushed and propagated by a Department of Justice out of Washington to cause issues. In the accounts in Ferguson, for them to praise or to lift up a young man who lost his life in a very tragic moment that could have been avoided with guidance and direction rather than with demoralization through media and music and the dumbing down in the school system and keeping the black man down and the oppression that they've implemented, and I say they, the government, and the people have gone along with for centuries as status quo. We need to find a way, in my opinion, to bridge the divide, to remove that mentality, and to preserve our future generations. How do you think we can do that?
Well, I was firsthand. I participated in Ferguson, so I was able to, and I want to just make sure I say this here because you're not going to hear it anywhere on the media, so I'll say it here so we get things in the proper frame. The truth is not nice. The truth is not pretty. So if people want to listen to something that's pretty and nice, I'm probably a guy they don't want to listen to. They need to turn your show out because it's not going to happen. I was there, and I'll tell you that the police officers assessed the threat properly. You know, when people were talking about it was too militarized,
yes,
they assessed the threat. The threat was that serious.
Wow.
They went too hard, too fast. But that's a political mistake. That wasn't a police mistake. They assessed the threat properly. There was going to be hell to pay. If those cops weren't there, there would have been the streets would have been flowing in blood. In my opinion, white people would have had their heads cracked and killed and things of this sort. It was going to be bad. The police assessed the threat properly. They went too hard, too fast, and that there is something that's left up to the bureaucrats and the politicians. But they did assess the threat properly. I was there. I remember. I was there.
We certainly don't want to see your state turn into another LA incident. And of course, those two circumstances that caused the evolution of this situation that you have in your state in Ferguson are different to a degree, a very large scale degree. It was wrong what they did to Brother King, in my opinion, but to make a population pay by way of murder or harm when they're in fact not the parties guilty is insanity at best. And what I see in Ferguson, or what little bit we've seen through the media, is, the picture they want to paint is obviously one to keep the divide. But the sad thing is that these people who get out there and destroy businesses that folks have worked hard for in retaliation is also a brainless act. It's insanity at best. Those folks, that's their livelihood. And as for the black on white, it happens that the officer was white. It happens that the young man that lost his life, was black. Nobody dictated those circumstances. I understand the officer received some serious injury. Bodily harm was brought to him. And quite frankly, as a citizen, not even law enforcement, if someone was to initiate those injuries upon my person, I would do everything in my power to stop them. And if it meant that I had to take a life.
It's the rules of engagement. We learn when we're children. We learn when we're children, literally in kindergarten, when you go to the zoo, not to feed the animals, because almost every year some little kid gets his finger bitten by either a monkey or a snapping turtle or something of that sort. There's things, the rules of engagement. The rules of engagement tells us when we are in a life-threatening situation. Okay, you don't pull a gun on a cop. You don't do that there. Okay, the rules of engagement. Japan knew when they bombed America that was not going to be okay. That was the rules of engagement. And look what happened. Look what happened to Japan when they took and they attacked America. That was the rules of engagement. And let's face it, the country of Japan's no bigger than the size of California. But what they did was an act of war, because the rules of engagement tells us if you fight a cop, they're going to fight you. If you shoot at them, they're going to shoot back at you. Those are rules of engagement, and we have to look at things in the proper framework. The real problem for me that I can hear through, and I saw with my own two eyes having talked to people, and I'll say this here quite frankly about my campaign, the narrative that we're running with as I'm running for Secretary of State across the state is that individuals are beginning to see their value as human beings. And they don't necessarily, people don't necessarily want to be catered to. And, being politically correct and this culture that we're in, where we lie and deceive ourselves. When I was in Ferguson and I spoke to a lot of those black mothers, you know what they're concerned about? They want their kids to go to a quality school, get a quality education. That's what they want. They like to be able to have some jobs. For those, a few that were on welfare, they would prefer getting a regular paycheck as opposed to getting a welfare check. And they understand now. I think time has caught up to those people who have been getting up every morning, making this country a bad place, making this country worse every day. Things are caught up. And they're beginning to understand that, we don't want government in our business. And if getting food stamps means that you can dictate what I eat, how I eat, when I eat, I don't want it. If your government assistance means that you dictate who I have in my home, I don't want it. I mean, and it's just a natural progression of, that whole dependency and taking the freedom away from each individual. I see Ferguson as a natural progression, and we need to let it play out. And it's not gotten as bad as it's going to get. And here's why and this is why I say that. Since August, since Mike Brown's death, nothing has been done by those people who are in power here in Missouri, in Jeff City. Nothing has been done to change anything from happening. They haven't done anything on either side. Black people have been marching, praying, and talking since August. They haven't been demanding. The demand letter for demilitarization, I wrote that press release. That came from Roi Chinn. I demanded that the governor appoint a special prosecutor, and I asked him in front of Claire McCaskill, Senator Claire McCaskill, on television. The governor was there here in St. Louis. When I asked him, I said, we need a special prosecutor. So if this flies south, you can't blame the prosecutor. It won't be something where you're blaming the community. You can't blame the cops. A special prosecutor is what was appointed in the Trayvon Martin case. And to me, it was just made the perfect sense. But right now, what you've had is created the situation as the governor and all these political people, the prosecutor, everyone's hitting the ball back and forth. But we're the ones, everyone in America, the citizens, the residents are the ones taking the falter because the right, Victor, and the left, Tim, when they come together, victim. That's all we get. We get Vic and Tim. When the Republicans and the Democrats come together, that's what they bring us, victim. Vic and Tim get together and they point fingers. Nothing's done. Nothing's been done in Missouri. It's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think that's what we have to let it do. It has to take its course. It's just going to have to. I think this is the time. This is the time.
I actually have a question. I'm sorry.
That
I'm sorry.
That people
I thought you were done.
that people come out of there, because this is what we have. We have two sides that says, I'm going to give you something, you're entitled to this, and then you have the other side where a person says, if anyone's raised any kids who's listening, comes a point where your kids become independent, at least to some degree, and they start saying, Mom or Dad, I can do this, or I want to do this myself. And that's why I see Ferguson or the urban areas in America beginning to wake up and say, we can do these things ourselves.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
I had on my platform possible solutions for some of the things that you just brought up, in particular welfare. Every individual is born with some degree of self-pride and preservation, or yearns for autonomy and their own responsibilities. And we make choices. Life is a choice. But it's a two-part question. One, I have to ask you, considering the fact that the DOJ, and I've never seen a presidential administration become involved in state incidents like we have witnessed with Eric Holder and the DOJ concerning things like Trayvon and Mr. Brown. Certainly when anyone else is slaughtered in America, there's no eyebrow raised. And I'm not trying to make that a racial statement. That is actually fact. That's fact. It goes on every day in America. Blacks are not the only targets for injustice. It's just that the government uses that and has placed lobbyists and groups like the NAACP in that may have initially been a party or entity that was meant to help the oppressed, but has turned into a tool to further agitate an already volatile situation. So my question to you, first part, would be, do you feel that our lack of better judgment concerning the issue where our commander-in-chiefs of the states, governor, that's in fact who they are, the commander-in-chief of their state, has turned a blind eye due to being prostituted by way of federal funding by the federal government that has allowed these situations and circumstances to hold existence or bearance in our communities across the globe. I mean across the nation. We're seeing the lack of responsible intervention by our governor and even our Congress in our states to stop the madness and to keep federal government out of state business or incidents or occurrences. Do you feel the same is possibly true? Do you feel it has anything to do with the federal funding?
At this point, it's not even a matter of opinion. The facts are that the federal government has for years played games with, at least, and especially the last 8 years, they've played games. If you do what we want, we will give you X amount of dollars. So that's bad. That's bad. But what's worse than the federal government is, to me, is that again, it goes back to the state, the lack of political will, of political courage by state leaders allowing this to happen. The governor and the Secretary of State, at least for the state of Missouri, I'm running to be the chief business officer for the state of Missouri, and I have solutions to deal with that. And I'm charged with empowering Missourians. I have to empower Missourians. I have to make sure the elections will be fair elections. I would be over the securities over the state, and the Secretary of State, I would be the chief business officer. So right now we have in the state of Missouri, our Secretary of State is Jason Candace, and he's my brother from Kansas City. We're both from Kansas City. He's a Democrat, God bless him. He's a Democrat, and he's a lawyer, and we don't need a lawyer sitting in the chief business officer's seat in the state of Missouri. And
right.
This is what happens when we allow things that are not to be as though they're supposed to be. And that's what's happened in America. The federal government comes in and says, if you accept Agenda 21, we'll give you. If you accept Common Core, we'll give you all this money. And so the corrupt politicians on the state level who aren't doing their job, who can't balance the budget, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who's running for office across the state or across the country, but since you asked me that, Becky, the truth of the matter is this here. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue to what they're doing. They don't have the solutions to get our states out of the financial messes that they're in. They don't have a solution on how they're going to balance the budget. They know it. They know that I know it. And they know that people like you, when you ran for governor, Becky, and there's some others around the country who are running for office, they have absolutely no clue whatsoever, and they're afraid. They are afraid that the public's beginning to wake up and notice that they don't have a plan to improve education. They don't have a plan to help small businesses to create jobs. And they won't even talk about eliminating the discrimination against unborn babies. Yeah. They don't have a solution about this here. The federal government is overreached. It's definitely overreached.
They really have. And I've found that a huge part of the awakening, at least in my state, and I've worked diligently to impart information to all 50 states, because at the end of the day, even though I push for secession for Texas, I cannot forget about the rest of the countrymen. My brothers and sisters across this nation cannot be forgotten out of selfishness. And in that awakening, we have tried to teach as many as we possibly can about how government is actually supposed to function or perform its duties. And the duties is the important word in that sentence. Their duty to serve as elected or a paid official by the true governing body, which is the patriots or the citizens of that state. And we try to teach them that, like you stated earlier, it is not the federal government's position to rule or dictate over a state issue or education or the functions in a state, but it is the people who choose the Bill of Rights in which they have amicably decided they are comfortable with where law is concerned in their own states. And the unfortunate thing is ignorance will kill you. Knowledge is power, both in the mind and knowledge. And we have allowed that power to be stripped away from us by ignorance and complacency. Before I brought you onto this call, I explained to the people who are listening the definition of subordinate, the definition of fear, and the definition of complacency. And those all play a very huge role in how we have gotten to where we are today. It's a form of emotional brainwashing, and it is also a way of stunning your growth and reaction. And we have to overcome these things. But as a candidate for governor, I propose this in my platform. Part of the solution, I feel, would be to stop giving benefits to foreign invaders altogether. That's actually an act of treason. It states in our document that aiding and abetting is actually treason to a foreign invasion. Now, with that said, we have so many homeless in America. We have so many people right now believe it's, 47%, and that's if the government's telling us the truth, are that they tell us that it's economic recovery. If we go in and take those benefits away from those folks who don't belong in our nation, they don't belong here unless they come and leave. Do it right. Don't break the law. I go to jail if I break the law. We should not reward lawbreakers and invaders. And those folks that have been generationally held to poverty in a welfare situation, what if we did this? What if we took those benefits, took those people that don't belong here, ship them out, make them come in right, with the understanding, like, people not be perfect. We don't do special programs or financing for free money for businesses when we deny it to American citizens. Those businesses should be given, rightfully so, as our heritage to prosper in this country by those who are born here. That should be first consideration, not last consideration. To eliminate the minority button and all the lobbyists that have gone into government and swayed the corruption there by way of exchanging money in pockets. What if we went in and we gave that money that we just took away that was being foolishly spent in an arena or an area to businesses to bring exception to folks who maybe did not graduate, who maybe lack a technical skill, and set up special programs where the state gives money to those business owners to bring those folks to the table and teach them a trade so that they can be self-sufficient. What if we rewarded those business owners for creating an environment that is profitable for both the business and for the employee? What if we did that? Look at the change that would be made. Look at the money that we would not have to receive by way of federal assistance for and so exhausted that we start falling off the wheel dead. We have to find a solution somewhere. What if we gave these people who are on welfare the task of working 4 hours a day, and then let's assist them in a technical skill, or let's assist them in an educational program that helps them to become productive and self-sufficient?
Becky, I'm going to tell you right now, I thought this a while ago. I'm going to tell you again on your show. I think you should have asked for a recount because you're really hitting the nail on the head with the hammer. Because I think that's the perfect solution. As I've traveled across the state of Missouri with my community voices meetings, one thing that I'm hearing, and you've already resonated that, and that is that you bring people together. Here's something that the politicians don't understand. They don't understand, and I'm seeing this over and over in my campaign, is that they seem to not get into their heads and they're not comfortable with understanding or thinking that the public might have better ideas in how to solve the problems than they do. And I'm seeing this all around the state, and I'm seeing it from all over the country, from people like you and others who are dialoguing with me, those who are having campaigns all across the country, establishment politicians who've been elected by their party bosses. They are uncomfortable with thinking and understanding that the public might have better ideas in how to solve the problems than what they do. And I think what you're saying is perfectly on point. And if we had a governor in the state of Missouri and a secretary of state, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. And for those who are listening, it's just important that, my wife and I came to a place about 4 years ago when I really felt in my heart that the relationship between government and its citizens is fundamentally broken. And it's not going to be healed from the inside out. It's only going to be healed from the outside in. And that's what you're talking about. And I think that's the best way we do it. And as Secretary of State, I have a plan on bringing those sort of ideals from the residents into bear to government, because we're looking for them to do it from the inside out, and it's not going to happen. It has to happen from the outside in. That's from the citizens going in. That's the only way we're going to heal things in the state of Missouri or in my opinion, in the country. It's got to be from the outside in, because we're expecting it to happen from the inside out. And right now,
I agree.
It's not going to happen. There's fundamentally the relationship between the government and the citizens, I believe, is fundamentally broken. And it's not going to be healed. And I know this in my dialogue with people on the phone, via Skype and every other place, is that it's got to take place, and it's only going to take place from the outside in. When we take the ideals of people like you, who are, you're hosting this show right now to deal with something the media doesn't deal with. The elephant in the room right now in America is Ferguson, and no one wants to talk about it, and they don't want to deal with it, and they haven't dealt with it. They're not going to deal with it, and they haven't. And the consequence of that there is what you're seeing. You're seeing these two divided sides where you have either or. I think what you're saying and what I'm running on is that we're saying both and. We can have both and. It doesn't have to be either or thinking. And I have to say that because my professors at the University of Notre Dame would probably have my head for that there. So, I think that it's just so important that people like you, in your race for governor, I know there's a lady now running for governor of Kansas, and, people are just from the inside out who are just really fed up with the government, and we're coming in. And the inside out, that's the way we're going to be healed.
I agree with you completely, and we have to start even at a municipal level. We've been taken over by the UN and Agenda 21. The C-scope programs that have been hoarded into our states by way of federal funding is actually a UN agenda derived from a program called UNESCO, and its origin is actually Muslim. And that is why they teach the pillars of Islam and the things that they're teaching, while they continue to degrade Christianity and any other religion out there. And that was really my political motivation. But what I see is a huge problem here where we've allowed our children to be exposed to such tactics by way of federal government and their abilities to learn in school and the subject matter that they're given, at best is it's left me in outrage. And again, that was my initial political motivation. My widest awakening in politics came with the C-Scope situation and my own frustration and fear for my children and grandchildren in the public schools concerning what was being taught. Of course, the other thing is the violence. And I really feel like if we go back to some of the things that you and I both agree on and how we can correct the situation, how we can reduce the deficit in our own states, how we can take control back has to start in the state, because Washington is too big of a monster. But if we as states start denying the increase into our political affairs and our functions in our states, we then take the baton away from them and we crush their momentum that they have chosen to inflict upon us as a nation. When we go in and we give these business owners these incentives, if we could implement this program, we have cut our spending, we've increased our economics, our economy, and that we now have an economy that's growing rather than shrinking. And we give pride back to an individual. That fear or feeling of inferiority, insubordinance, okay, is not a factor any longer. And then your crime rates begin to fall off because people are not frustrated. People are not oppressed. People don't feel discriminated against. They feel helped, a part of the community, a part of humanity and society.
And you know, the biggest part of that there, Becky, is choice. You know, giving people the freedom, government being smart enough to help, but wise enough to get out of the way. Yeah. And that's what, as Secretary of State, that would be my responsibility here for the state of Missouri, is to have that sort of government structure set up to get out of people's way. And that's what we're finding we're tripping on all over the board, is that we're tripping on the federal government coming in with this money from, you know, we don't know where it's from, because you know that for years we've had a few candidates who've told the truth about you know, the Fed. And I know as Secretary of State, one of my responsibilities would be as the Chief Securities Officer is that I can't take and audit the Fed the way Ron Paul or someone says they would do if they were president, but I can audit the St. Louis Federal Reserve. I can audit that because it has to do with securities. It has to do with securities. And if we just took that across the country, you know, Missouri being a show-me state, you know, if we do it a little bit, you know, we do it in Texas, we do it in Kansas, we do it in Missouri, we do it in different areas, then we can still accomplish the overall mission that we really want to look at. You know, getting money out of politics, getting the federal government out of states and people's business, and that's what's fueling all of the problems right now. In St. Louis today, schools, and this is reported, people can Google this and search for themselves, but in St. Louis right now, several school districts are bracing for Mike Brown's grand jury decision. Oh. They're focused more on what the decision is going to be from the Mike Brown case than what the Constitution says. Okay, they're focused more on that than positive and negative integers in algebra class. Mm-hmm. Okay, these are the things that right now has taken place, and this is a part of that federal UN. It's bigger than federal, but yeah, United Nations agenda. You know, yes. Agenda 21, Common Core, things that are not good for our country, and I know they're not good for Missouri. And anyone who's listening from Missouri, I'm totally against Common Core. I'm totally against, and I will push and fight against the UN Agenda 21. And I know that there's a lot of mayors and city council and county executives taking that money, and they're being bought off because they've been elected into positions they're ill-suited to be running. You have people running cities and city councils who really don't belong there. They don't have the education, they don't have the experience, and they're not morally based to be in the positions of authority that they're in. And so when you have people who have no moral compass, they're more likely to take the dollars to say, look at what I've done. Look at what we've done. We've given money for this and that, and they start, doling money out and getting favors, and everything becomes more of entitlement, as opposed to allowing those individuals who should be there to be there. And that's what I'm fighting against. But I'll tell you, I think that in 2016, at least in the state of Missouri, I'm just going to give a prediction here, but I've been campaigning daily for the last 90 days and waking up those people who happen to have a Democrat persuasion of just how foolish this nightmare is, and they're waking up to the point, and they're casting out their shackles to the point that in 2016, I'm probably about 16 signatures away from national announcement that black folks will not be reporting to the Democrat voting plantation in 2016.
Oh,
that's how confident I am, and I believe in the people here that they're beginning to understand this isn't Republican, Democrat. It's about the really common sense things that what kept us together was the Constitution, and I believe people are beginning to go back to that. And the police overstepping their bounds is the same, it's tantamount to the federal government overstepping its bounds, which is equivalent to the United Nations overstepping its bounds. So you see the relationship here. And it's on each level, and I believe people on each level are beginning to push back. But can you imagine the hailstorm in 2016 for the Democrats when St. Louis says we're not going to vote blue, and they don't go blue, and then Cleveland changes its story, and Detroit changes its story. It only starts one place, and I'm pulling at the thread here in St. Louis, and we're almost to a point, and we have a narrative as we're going across the state of Missouri right now. It's one of empowerment. It's one of jobs. It's not one of entitlement. And Americans, and everyone here is an American, Americans are going for what they know and they believe in, and that's self-sufficiency, being empowered to do with yourself and getting the government out of the way. That's really what it is, and government is to protect the rights of the people, not to tell us what to do. The UN is telling the president and the federal government what to do, and they're telling the states what to do, and we're pushing back. And what you see in Ferguson isn't about black or white, and that's the biggest lie. And if anyone believes that, it's a lie. It's not about that there. It's that people are beginning to understand that, guess what? A welfare check isn't worth the hassle. Food stamps isn't worth the hassle. Public housing isn't worth the hassle when you live in a school district that fails to educate your kid year after year. You see how those entitlements aren't really cutting it anymore. It's not cutting it. And so the backlash is, what do we do? But when you kept the people out of the electorate, then they don't understand. It wasn't a surprise to me that Ferguson is 2/3 African-American. Some 70% of the people weren't registered to vote. But listen, we have a Democrat who's the Secretary of State, and that's his number one charge. Everyone votes.
Well, how do you feel about the two-party system at this point?
At this point, I think that it's taking away from our freedoms. Yeah, I like more choices. I think you ask anyone, they like more choices. I don't want chicken and beef all the time. Now sometimes I want some lamb. I might want some pork sometimes. And I do love pork, by the way. I love pork. But I'm just telling you that at some point, choices, having those choices in the in the open, fair, and free market, competitive market, is really the place that we're returning to, and Republicans don't have to argue that anymore. People are understanding this, because I don't care if you are a single-parent black woman trying to make it in St. Louis or Ferguson. You don't have to argue to that woman to the point anymore to beat over her head that she needs to be in a school district that educates her children so they have a chance in life, that a paycheck is a lot better than a welfare check or unemployment check. I mean, you don't have to beat over the head of veterans that they've gone away and they've given their blood, their sweat, and their tears, and they come back and they don't have health care, they don't have a place to stay, they don't have benefits. This here government has failed its people, and I'm praying to God, and I pray this all the time, and I'll ask your listeners to do too. In 2016, we stop listening to the lies, and we elect people like you, Becky, the governor, and Roi Chinn for Secretary of State, and patriots all across the country, people who aren't backed by the party, people who don't have big dollars. We're not fat cats, but people who care and understand servant leadership. Okay, I am Catholic Christian. Okay, and I will vote, and I do vote my faith, my family. My mother, a black woman from the South, was told to abort me. I'm the last kid of 10 kids. I come from my father came from the wasteland of communist China. He left the wasteland of China to come to this country and settled in, South San Francisco, and the family wasn't given anything for free. They worked and stuck together as a family, as many immigrant families have done in this country. And I'll tell you that immigrant families need to have a university, because that's a winning formula how to build wealth and how to do well in country. And I've gone to schools like Northwestern. I've gone to schools like Notre Dame because my mother and father sacrificed and went without. I'm the youngest kid of 10. I'm the youngest of 10 children, and multicultural family. And I'll tell you right now, immigrants come over. Not that the people here don't do it, but there's just something, and it made America great. And we've got to go back to those founding values in America, and we've got to go back to that. We've got to go back to cutting out the BS and going back to what we know really works. You stick together.
Yep. You know the problem with that, though? Everybody's about, what have you done for me lately? And unfortunately, that's what our whole world is about. Now, me, okay, I live in Chicago. Well, I don't live in Chicago any longer. I moved to the suburbs. But, this being the Democratic Party, powerhouse, Chicago, believe it or not, a lot of people here are not Democrats any longer. The machine is done. The machine is broke down and over with. And see, I'm a firm believer that as long as people are getting handouts, they're going to keep accepting the handout, and they're not going to actually go that extra mile that they should be going and going to work and doing what they have to do to support their families, as long as we keep giving. You know what I mean?
But here, let me stop you there.
Okay.
Let me stop you there.
Sure.
That's why.
Okay.
That's the problem. See, the entitlements.
Right. Exactly.
Are the entitlements that are given. They give you this, but they also tell you Obama got elected in this country off of a phrase that was a lie. Yes, we can. And you know what happened? As soon as we started trying to do it, they said, no, you can't. And that's what's happening when you get these entitlements. You see, I don't care if it's corporate welfare or welfare for individuals. Once you start saying, hey, listen, I've got this. Let me do it. Let me do it from here. Once you start trying to feed yourself, the federal government is threatened by that. They say, no, we don't want you feeding yourself, because that means that there's no use for us. And that's really the problem. These entitlements comes with catch-22. And the catch-22 is that one party is going to tell you that we're going to tax you to death. The other party says We're not going to tax. And whatever one party does, the other party uses it against them. So we're in a catch-22. But those entitlements, like you said, you're definitely on target. Those entitlements come at a cost. When you eat Twinkies for breakfast, don't expect to get through your chemistry class come second hour, because it's going to come to a crash, and that's what the consequences, and we don't do that. And the media is a part of this here, and that's corporate America. It's a part of this controlling, this UN global controlling, where you're not going to listen to the truth, because the truth isn't nice. It's not pretty.
Right.
People want pretty. We call it PC today. But the word nice. If you take the word nice back to this Latin phrase, nice means nice. Nice actually means not having, not knowing. It means basically being dumb, being stupid, and that's what they want. They want us to be nice. They want Christians to be tolerant in the most intolerant religious world that we've ever lived in. This world is a havoc right now for anyone. If you profess Christianity, or if you profess Judaism, and there's just a problem. And America has fallen off of its constitutional rocker. And I don't care what anyone says, but the solution is the Constitution. We've got to go back to that document. Everyone, from the president on down. This House is in disorder from the president on down. The Supreme Court.
I actually have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go right here. Go right ahead. The Supreme Court.
No, that's fine, and I'm loving every minute of it. Believe me, I love everything you're talking about. You're right on point. But one thing that I think that we didn't cover that I think is really, really important is, okay, I know the St. Louis area very well. I know East St. Louis. I know the Landing. I know Delmar Street. I know it all. Okay, I used to go to Blueberry Hill all the time, all that. One thing I want to know, I've been trying to find out, do you actually think that all the outbursts and everything down there are something that have been organized and that were planned and put together to maybe try to implement martial law?
I think at this point, with the lack of jobs, with the lack of with the lack of choices and freedoms, I would say yes. I think, and I'm not the only person. And so if there's any trolls listening, they will want to take and sway this anyway. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. There's so many. It's common knowledge. If you're at a bus stop on your way to the inner city to go to the job, if you're waiting to pick your kid up, or if you're in a line in a grocery store, people are aware of Big Brother has gotten bigger, and Big Brother has an even bigger brother. People understand this here. It's not conspiracy talk anymore. They know things are in place. People understand FEMA. They understand the government that's big has to become bigger and justify budgets. We all understand this. People get on Google, find out about who you're voting for, find out where the money's coming from. You've got smartphones, be smart. Use the technology that's there. And we have to light up the darkness in this country. We've got to light up the darkness in this country, because right now, as you're saying, there are people who are planning this out, and they want things to come about. It's fear-mongering, and that's what they want. They want martial law, and we know who they are. They are them. We know who that is. But I'll say this, and I've said it since my campaign. It's not black folks against white folks or white folks against black folks. That's the point. That's a part of the ploy that they want us to go at each other's throats. That's a part of it. That's just the way that they've done it. And they're leveraging even religion. Right now, they are leveraging Islam. Islam has been exalted at the expense of, decent, good Jewish people, at the expense of good, decent American Christian folk. And that's a part of the scales and how they take and they manipulate. And we've seen this. We see it in our politics of the political party bosses on the right and the left, who they pick for candidates. Hey, we're going to give you this here. Go vote for these guys. So those people who are making this country a worse every day, I would believe with you that, yes, they'd like to have martial law. I think they would. I think they want to see. But martial law has a price, too. And just so that it's not conspiracy theory, because everything I say I want people to know can be backed up if they do the research. Do your scholarship. Martial law costs money. And that means the government gets even bigger. And that's what people have to understand. That's why, that's why a lamp in the state capitol may cost $20,000. They need the government, all purported for them. Okay? It's money. It's profitable. It means big government. And we're already broke as a country.
See, there's been rumors going around, and you know how that crap goes with rumors, but they've actually even been saying that, the organizers of this have been promising jobs to people, meaning like say when you go out to canvass and you're canvassing for a politician, that they're saying, hey, if you help get this guy elected, you get a job. You know what canvassing is. I mean, you've been part of politics forever. A lot of these people, they're saying that, they're telling a lot of people, hey, if you guys keep doing what you're doing, and keep it going, they're telling, like, the leaders, I don't know if it's the leaders of gangs or leaders of groups or, communities, whatever it is, but they're telling them, hey, we'll get you guys jobs, but you got to keep this going. You got to keep the fight up and everything else, which, I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, that's, I've seen posts on that on YouTube and stuff like that, but see, it never made any sense to me because, why do you want to keep, promoting violence, and keep, it going on, and keep the eye on you per se, and just, keep bringing like militarized police and stuff like that towards you. It doesn't make any sense,
I mean, in a greater scheme, it actually makes sense, even if you don't understand why, and there's some people who don't understand why. We were made in the image of God, and we have intuition. We're all pretty much superheroes. There's things that we pretty much know, but it makes sense. It makes sense to me that Pastor Porkchop and Reverend Neckbone and Minister Fried Chicken, it makes sense that they would be. It makes sense that someone would give these fat cats money. It makes sense that after what are we, 2014? You have the resurrection of the Black Panther Party out of nowhere. It kind of makes sense that this here has been planned out. It makes sense that this is planned out. It does. Allowing people to travel with Ebola. Come on, do you know the safeguards? The safeguards that are in place? I mean, hell, most parents and and here's the thing about God bless women, because I think women are going to help save this country. It takes a woman voter to understand what I'm about to say. But, there are things you could be detained or arrested if you let your kid go to school with a scratch. And they're allowing people to travel from state to state with Ebola? Come on, there's a problem. There's a problem here. I mean, there's something there. And, you just ask any mother who's picking her kid up, who's had a teacher, and I've got two daughters, my Princess Hannah and my Princess Megan. I have two sons, Jonathan and Joshua. And, growing up, kids get into spats. And I remember one time where Hannah scratched Megan or vice versa. I don't know who it was. And they went to school, and they were calling the job. They called my wife at the job, called me at the job, and my boss was the mayor. And he called me in. I was public administrator. And, I'm like, what? Over a scratch? This is BS. Hang up. Kids fight. Kids have disputes or whatever else. Any mom in America will tell you that, you'll get scolded or looked at bad if your kid comes to school without a lunch or lunch money. But yet we're allowing people to travel throughout the country with Ebola. There's things that are in place on the federal level, state level, local, county level that's being ignored. And it's not it's not rumors. It's not rumors anymore. And we need to stop saying it's rumors. We know it's happening.
More people die from the flu every year. Okay, car accidents, cancer. I mean, there's so many other things, bigger issues and bigger problems to worry about than worrying about 2 and 3 people dying of Ebola.
Yeah.
Brother, more people are killed in America today than were killed in the Iraqi war by foreign invaders that have come into this country.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Our small to medium businesses have been given to foreign invaders that our government has brought in to take over our economy and to exact a caliphate on this country. We are
absolutely
in serious, dire need of a referendum that puts the power and the opportunity back into the hands of the God-given rights of people who are born to this country. And
Becky, I was so hoping that you were going to. I was so hoping that you would have won your election, and I do seriously ask that you consider running again. Please don't go away. Do not go away. Run again. And you have hit again. You're on point because my father, coming from China, having an immigrant father, who was discriminated against in America because he was thought to be Japanese and Korean, and he wasn't.
Right.
In the past, and I'll tell you right now, if my father were alive today, I'd be making this argument on his behalf. We would not allow anyone that we're at war with to build on American soil. Correct. You don't allow your enemy to build a fort. You look at when we were at war with Germany. You look at that there. Hitler's people couldn't come to America and buy a church and have some Nazi church and build up. We in the military, we took and we made sure that sensitive information was protected. And right now, you're right. Those people who are coming over to this country. There's serious issues going on. But I think once Texas stands up, Florida stands up, and you guys stop it, the rest of the country, I know as Secretary of State, I'm running for, and it's not true here in Missouri, but I'm running on election reform where there's going to be an ID. You're going to need voter ID here and proof of your citizenship when you register to vote for the first time. So there's safeguards that we need to put back in place.
Well,
you know what? I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut either one of you off. We only got 60 seconds left, or this thing's going to cut us off. So if we can let Mr. Chinn put out any kind of information that you can for people to contact you and, look you up.
Okay. Right now, first of all, I want to thank you again for dealing with this here. It's worthy of what the Founding Fathers would have us do. In the state of Missouri, if you're interested in donating to my campaign, we are about to have an online campaign run for fundraising, and it's going to be LinkedIn, Skype, Facebook, and any of the social media networks. All my information you can find at Vote Roi, and Roi is spelled ROI, just like return on investment. Chinn, CHINN.com, and you can find out. I'm all over the state. If you're interested in having me speak to your group, your business, your church, just leave a message for us on Facebook. We're there, or Google us. We're everywhere online. But we're running on Roi, Missouri Return on Investment, and I'm running as Secretary of State. I'm the conservative candidate for the state of Missouri. And my whole reason for running is because I want to return power back to you, the people of the state of Missouri,
Excellent.
so that you can have what's rightfully yours.
God bless both of you.
I think it's actually still recording, so. Yeah, I think it's still recording, so. But good.
Becky, thank you so much, and sir, I'm sorry I forget your name. Are you outdoors, sir?
Yeah, actually, I added you yesterday. I'm Bobby. I added you yesterday. Becky. Yeah, Becky turned me on to you, and it's been a pleasure to have you on. And I'm hoping we can have you on again. I mean, you're so knowledgeable, and I mean, I appreciate you coming on and joining us. You know, especially when it's right now, it's got to be a real busy time for you. You know, and especially being on the campaign trail, and so many things going on. I read so much information about you today. I was sitting there telling Becky, and she's like, "How do you know all this?" I'm like, "I looked into, your past and everything, in Detroit running for mayor and all that,
That's right.
and
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's definitely a pleasure. And Becky, I'll just ask one thing of you. You're a good patriot. If you have a disclaimer, the next time you have me on your show, you might want to tell people that the things that Roi Chinn says isn't necessarily, endorsed by your radio broadcast, because I cannot be PC. And today I'm standing here with the interview. I have 3 of my campaign leaders around me, and they pretty much have me in shackles because, because you have to really be careful, now, because anything you say that resembles the truth or facts in America can be used against you.
Well, you well know, brother, this. I support you completely. I'm probably one of the most
I know.
diligent at being politically correct.
Amen.
And I also state that truth is not an option for the dead.
There you go. Amen. We did well for years. I'm 43 years old. We lived just fine in America when things were the way that they were. When things were just the way that they were. And we have to really return. For those listening, who maybe don't share my conservative background, we have to take it back to the Constitution. And the Constitution is the solution. I'm not talking Republican versus Democrat. In the words of Malcolm X, Republicans are bad and Democrats are more racist than Republicans. There. Malcolm X said that, not me, but I wanted to definitely put that out there because I know those in the St. Louis area are listening, and that's not a popular quote that was said oftentimes, but we've got a battle ahead of us, and to the Democrat opponents who are running, I'm going to hold you accountable in 2016 so we can move Missouri forward. Becky, God bless you, and thank you so very much. And please give them hell in Texas. Run again, because we need someone like you heading up one of the biggest state in the union. So please consider running again for governor or a high position there in Texas, because America needs you.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, and we will not stop our agenda to secede Texas from the U.S.
Amen. Amen. There you go. Because if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you guys first. Missouri's going to be a little bit late to the party, but when I'm Secretary of State, we will be there. We might be late, but we'll be there. So you can count on Missouri, aiding Texas.
Absolutely. And brother,
awesome. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay. Thank you so very much again. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Well, that was a good one, Becky. That was an excellent interview. Wonderful man, very wholesome. I learned so much. Just like I told you, every time we do a show, I learn so much, and that was probably one of the best interviews that I've been part of since I've done radio. So that's saying a lot, and it means a lot to me. It really does, to have somebody as knowledgeable, as wholesome as him, and and I'm being sincere about that. I'm not just saying that to say it, just because of who he is. But I mean, seriously, that was an awesome interview.
Well, brother, I tell you, I don't think I could have picked a better economical advisor for my attempt at governorship in the state of Texas.
No, I think you were right on the money with him.
I painstakingly scrambled in a very short period of time with very little resources and spent thousands of hours locating and reaching out to people just like him for councils in different areas for my run as governor. And it's unfortunate that the government intervened and has shut me down to the degree that they did, where I had no shot at a true public attempt to take victory in Texas. But I want my folks that are listening out there to understand I'm not counted out. Bobby's not counted out. We still fight. We will continue to fight and support those that we still have every intent that we do to see us break away from the giants.
Right. All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining me again tonight for a wonderful show. And, I look forward to the next one. I'm not sure who we're going to have on next time, but I believe that we're going to have on Tom LePew. I believe that's how he pronounces it, even though it's spelled Lupshu from Bunker Report. But
oh, wow.
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday, and he said that we're going to be in contact with each other, and he believes that he will be joining us next Tuesday.
Fantastic.
It might be Monday, but he might have said Monday, but I believe it was Tuesday.
I'm working on getting a few guests. I don't want to mention their name, but I spoke to you about one of them. You had mentioned you've been trying to get them on the show, and I had a brief conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. My God,
so
that would be huge.
I'm going to reach out to him and our brother Terry Dodd, who has his own show, and see if I can't bring some of those folks to the table. I happen to be blessed and have some superior patriots who are knowledgeable and very powerful individuals, and I'm going to see what I can do from here on out to try to bring that to the table for us.
Well, no, it's not just true for me, it's for us. So just remember that.
Exactly,
right.
It's for everybody. So God bless, brother. Thank you for having me again, and you keep safe.
All righty. Until next time, thank you, everybody, for joining us on Rage Against the Regime podcast. And let's see here. Let's give us some going away music. And let's see. I will do this one.
Rage Against the Regime.